When you come to use the SEM, the first thing you should do is actually switch the microscope on. Then while the microscope is getting ready for you to use it, you can load your sample onto the sample holder. To switch the microscope on, it's very simple. There is this key here. You're going to turn the key clockwise to start, and then you release it, and the key will stop on the on here. When this screen appears, then you will log on as administrator here using the password, which is Itachi. Once you have input the password, click OK or press Enter. The computer is now starting the microscope controller software. After you've switched on the microscope and the microscope is getting ready for you to use it, you should put your sample on the sample holders. You should always wear gloves when putting your sample in the sample holder for SEM, and also when putting your sample inside the microscope. This is because in SEM, you don't want to get any grease onto your sample or the sample holder or any of the microscope parts that are in contact with the sample holder. In this drawer here that says SEM tweezers, you will find some special tweezers that are very useful when you're putting your sample in the sample holder for SEM. These tweezers are shaped in a way that they will fit perfectly around the SEM stub. After you have found the SEM tweezers, find your samples that you will probably have placed in one of these two boxes here. Unclip the box door from here and also down here. You can then open the door and find the box that contains your samples and place it on the bench. Don't forget to clip the door back on. Choose the type of sample holder that you would like to use. The sample holders are kept in these two boxes here. This box here has single holders that are used for when you only want to put one sample at a time on the microscope. And this box here has the multi-holder that is used for when you have several samples and you want to put them all inside the microscope and then choose which one to image. These here are the single holders for SEM, and this here is the multi-holder. Now the multi-holder is a very useful holder because quite often you have more than one sample to look at, and by using the multi-holder it means that you don't have to keep opening the microscope specimen chamber all the time to take your sample in and out and then make vacuum and everything. Pick up one of your samples from the box using the special tweezers. So open the box, then carefully slide the tweezers around your sample. You can hold the middle of the box to keep it in place, and then gently take the stub out. For this single holder here, fit your sample inside this hole in the middle and then tighten the screw just finger tight so that your sample doesn't move. For the multi-holder, make sure that when you're placing your sample in the multi-holder itself is sat in this polystyrene box support, so that when you put your samples on it, it doesn't fall and maybe damage your sample. There is one little thing you have to be careful about when you use the multi-holder, and that is the fact that you have several samples in there, so you have to have a way of knowing which sample is which. So the multi-holder here has a little piece of carbon tape, and that marks the position of this sample. As you're putting your samples in the multi-holder, you should write down which sample is where relative to this little piece of carbon tape. So when you put your sample inside the microscope, you will be able to see this piece of carbon tape, and then you will be able to orient yourself and find out which sample is which. To place your sample in the multi-holder, you will need a tiny, tiny Allen key that you'll find in the multi-holder drawer inside this box. Keep this small Allen key inside this box. So by keeping it inside the box, we make sure we never lose it. To use the multi-holder, simply pick your sample up and place it in one of the multi-holder holes, and then use the little Allen key to tighten the screw next to that hole. It doesn't need to be super tight. In SEM, it's very important that the specimen is at the right height when you put it in the holder. Here next to the gloves, we have a little tool to help you put your sample at the right height. The way this tool works is that you place your specimen holder with a sample in front of it, and you use this line here to guide you to make sure that the sample is at the right height. You have to look straight at this white plate and make sure that the topmost features in your sample are hitting this line here. You will see that if your sample is quite flat on the specimen stub, then this single sample holder is already set for the right height. For the multi-holder, you adjust the height by unscrewing this part here of the holder. So what you do is, carefully holding the holder with one hand, you unscrew this middle section, and then you bring the sample to the right height, which is round about here. So once you've set the right height, you screw back this middle section against the bottom section so that it keeps the holder in place. You see that it'll feel firm. Once you've adjusted the height of the multi-holder, put it back in the support so that it is safe until you put it in the microscope.